If you had any doubt that Bob Bradley was attempting a full-blown, no-holds-barred rebuild with Toronto FC, now I think it's pretty obvious that that is exactly what is happening. This move is one that I did not see coming in a million years. Auro Jr. has been loaned out from Toronto FC to Santos for the entire 2022 season, and this loan out runs to the end of his contract, meaning that this is very likely the end of Auro at Toronto FC. Auro is a player who arrived in Toronto FC in 2018 and in 4 years with the team was nothing but solid. Game in, game out, he was a consistent, strong presence in the back line, solid in the right back role, able to play the left side when needed, and honestly just was solid in and out, game in, game out. He was a guy who I never had a problem with in any given game, and just was a guy who you could count on to give up a solid defensive performance every single time while providing a little bit of ability moving the ball forward. In 4 seasons, Auro played in 109 competitive matches for Toronto FC, did not score a single goal in that time, which is honestly shocking. He had some really solid chances throughout, so I'm surprised he didn't get a single one. But it wasn't about the offense for him. He was always just a defensively sound guy and a solid defensive fullback in an era where we really didn't have any solid defensive fullbacks for TFC besides him. And so throughout this whole time, Auro was just a very much needed piece of consistency and solid defensive work for Toronto FC. Going to Santos, the Brazilian native, goes back to the Brazilian league, and he should perform well there. When he had previously been in the Brazilian top flight, he was still a young player working his way up, not really fully ready for full-time play in that league. I think now he's going to be a solid, consistent player in that league, and best of luck to him back in Brazil. It's also sad that he's leaving because he was a guy who loved Toronto. He had posted social media posts about wanting to get Canadian citizenship to play for the Canadian national team. He was a guy who really loved the city, and because of that, really us as the fans grew to love him even more because of just how much he loved the city after coming here. And so it's sad that after 4 years he's gone back to Brazil, but obviously he thinks this is the best move for him for his career, or else we'd probably see him going to another team in Major League Soccer. Now this puts Toronto FC in a really interesting position fullback wise, because now that Auro's gone and Larrea's gone and Moro's gone, the only under contract natural fullbacks that Toronto FC have are Kamar Lawrence, who isn't actually training with the club right now in preseason and is all but confirmed that he'll be heading out somewhere prior to the start of the MLS season, and Luca Petrasso, who was playing with TFC2 last year and has been just signed as a homegrown player. So to say the options are thin is an understatement. However, in preseason, it appears that Bob Bradley is playing Jacob Schaffelberg at left back and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy at right back. Now, the Schaffelberg part of that actually makes a bit of sense, because with Insigne coming in with the summer and Jimenez being able to play left side and Jayden Nelson continuing his development, the left winger position is getting very crowded for Toronto FC. And Jacob Schaffelberg is a guy who really has the ability to drop back into the fullback role. And this is kind of a common trend in recent years in professional football, where you have young guys start off as wingers, and then as they gain more experience and they get more trust of them from the coaches, they are dropped back into fullback roles because they're able to influence the game more in the fullback position, especially now where your fullbacks are a lot more aggressive attacking wise than they have been in years past. So Schaffelberg at fullback is an interesting experiment I'm actually not too worried about. Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy at right back is similar situation, but with a guy who is 17, his development curve still hasn't started. Remember, Alphonso Davies, when he left MLS when he was 17, was still only ever being played in the left wing role. TFC is trying to take Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, who was the same age as Alphonso Davies when he signed in MLS at 15, but Marshall-Ruddy at the age of 16 last year didn't have the same sort of season that Alphonso Davies had at 16, and now wants to rush Marshall Ruddy into the right back role quicker than the Alphonso Davies timeline, because Davies didn't get moved back to left back until he was moved to Bayern Munich, and TFC is trying to do that in MLS when he's still 17 with Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy. So it'll be interesting to see how that works. Maybe it might be good for Marshall-Ruddy, have a little bit less pressure on him to perform offensively, but to play the fullback role, you have to be very mentally sound. You have to know exactly where you need to be at the pitch at all times. You need to know when to push forward and attack and when to hang back and sit more defensively. It takes a lot of maturity to play that role. And if at the age of 17, Marshall Ruddy is ready to do that, that is fantastic. However, given that he really hasn't been a regular player for TFC in either of his first 2 seasons, I know he got a bit more playtime at the end of last season, but that was when TFC had pretty much already fallen out of everything. It's going to be interesting to see if he is ready full-time at the right back role. Now, of course, Caden Chun, the former Pacific FC fullback, is training with Toronto FC, and it sounds like that might be a done deal and he might be signing with TFC, in which case that gives us another option. However, going into this season, if our fullback options are fully Luca Petrasso, Caden Chun, Jacob Schaffelberg, and Jaquil Marshall-Ruddy, that is a very young and very inexperienced group to be our fullbacks. I would like to have had an Auro in the mix there, a guy who's a solid, can play every game, you know, knows what the deal is in MLS, has been well in MLS, sort of player in that fullback role. But it seems like Bob Bradley is trusting the young guys with the fullback job. And, you know, if it works out for him, it's fantastic. I would have liked to have had a veteran presence there, but right now that doesn't seem to be the way that Bob Bradley is going. And, you know, if he thinks that Schaffelberg and Marshall-Ruddy can do it, I'm not going to question him on it. Also, Salcedo can play the fullback role a little bit, so maybe it's not as bad as I think. But yeah, there you have it. Auro is out, going on loan to Santos. Just a fantastic player for TFC. A guy very much like Delgado, where every game you knew he was going to be solid game in, game out, and you never had to worry about him. And it's sad that we lose both Delgado and Auro, who probably over the past 4 years have been our 2 most consistently solid guys in this lineup. So disappointed that those 2 are both gone. But this is Bob Bradley's team now, and the old regime is fully gone. It is 100% Bob Bradley at the handle. So that is it for this video. Let me know down below in the comments what you think of the Auro move to Santos. And as always, if you like this video, hit like. If you want to see more of my stuff, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter. Link is down below in the comments, and I will see you next time.